Hello there my friends, welcome to my another video. Recently I've been asked to do a 24-hour challenge by some fellow smaller YouTubers, so I've decided why not try this 1:72 scale IS-7 from Trumpeter and see if I can actually build it in one day and then of course paint it, weather it, all that. I won't do a diorama for it obviously, so let's get right into it and see if I can actually do this. Now, as you can see, a lot of the parts are molded in big chunks of plastic, so I wasn't really scared about how long the build will take. This is why you can see me here applying the cast texture as first, because this is the thing that would probably take the longest to dry, and I wanted to get it out of the way as quickly as possible since I only had, well, realistically like 10 hours. So as you can see here, my typical cast texture technique is first putting some plastic cement onto the part that I want textured, and then I dap it with a sponge which creates a texture. And then I also use some Tamiya white putty diluted with cement yet again to add even more texture. So you can see me here adding it all the way around the turret and also on the hull, because this is how the vehicle was in real life. I haven't done this on my previous IS-7 that I've built around a year ago, and it's really visible how smooth the plastic is, which just doesn't fit well with what kind of vehicle it is. So this texture really brings interest to the model. And then I just started normally assembling the model, putting all of the parts together. This is a really simple kit, and I kind of feel like I cheated compared to the other two YouTubers that did this challenge, since they did some 1:35 scale models and I only went with this really simple 1:72 scale model. The wheels were done in a really easy way as well. The tracks were molded as one part together as with one row of the wheels, and the inner row of the wheels was separate, but since it was the inner row it didn't require much cleaning or anything. I just glued it onto the hull and I went further with the assembly. I decided to add some weld textures on the upper front plate because you can see them in real life. I do this using a hobby knife. What I basically do is I make some really straight lines and then like two straight lines next to each other, and then in the middle I cut some really small vertical lines, and this creates a nice weld texture. It's not the best technique for creating weld textures, but it's the one that I really enjoy using, and it kind of works on this type of surface, because it wouldn't work if you wanted to make a texture inside of like a groove or something, but it works here better than like using a putty. I also decided to remove some mudguards just to bring some interest. It's not that visible, but I use the Vortander IS-2 number 321 as a reference because I just wanted to make my model a little more interesting than just an ordinary IS-7. After the finished assembly that really required only around like 20 parts, I decided to add some more details. I added some handles onto the turret and I bent them a little just to make them look like they're damaged. And then, continuing the damaged thing, I started applying some shell impacts on the hull, because the IS-7 was made with armor in mind and that it wouldn't get penetrated, so I wanted to kind of like show that on this model. Not sure if it was true, but I like the effect. So what you can see me here is I drill shallow holes with a drill bit. It really doesn't matter what size unless it's too big, and then I fill them a little bit with putty. I let the putty dry just a teeny tiny bit, and then I push the putty out with a back of a brush that creates the nice pushed out steel effect, or well, steel texture, you know, like when the shell impacts it like pushes the steel out. This also allows you just to shape the shell impacts the way you want and all of that kind of stuff, and it brings some really interesting interest to the model. Although looking at them in retrospect, I think they're a little too big, but that doesn't matter. I also decided to add some stack shells. This is an effect I wanted to do for a very long time, I just never got to it, but this time I tried it using a cut up old gun barrel. I also added some stowage on the back of the tank. I added a drum, some scratch built boxes, also some logs because I think it looks pretty cool. The assembly was done in only around 2 hours, I would say, which was really quick. So I decided to get to painting right away because, well, I mean, it was a 24-hour challenge. I let the assembly dry and then I started priming the model. I used ordinary black Vallejo acrylic color for the primer because I don't have a normal primer and I just wanted to make the tank uniform color that can then be painted without worrying about different shades, but this doesn't really help with holding the paint, which is a disadvantage from a real primer. Then I started painting the model in the base green color. I used Vallejo Russian uniform for this. This color was diluted using ordinary tap water to a milk-like consistency, and then it was applied in very thin layers, around 4 to 5 layers, to create a very nice effect. Each layer was dried using a hair dryer. I do this on all of my models, but here it was convenient because I needed it done as quickly as possible. And then I actually wanted to try some more shading like I did previously on my Chinu. So what I did, I mixed a really light version of the color using buff, and I applied it on all of the exposed areas of the turret, making sure that then I blend it properly with the rest of the tank. The tracks were painted using German grey from Vallejo yet again. I was really careful here not to paint over the already painted wheels because this is a one piece. Then the tracks got a thin layer of randomly added brown just to create a rusty effect. After that I painted the stowage and some details, and I decided to start working on the washes. I used Vallejo grey wash for this. I apply it, dilute it all around the details that I want picked up by the wash. Since this is an acrylic wash, I actually used ordinary tap water to blend it. Then I started applying some chipping effect actually, because I wanted the model to look even more damaged. I used again German grey for the chipping effect, and I used a sponge to apply it. Then after the decals were in place, I used silver paint to paint the shell impacts. I know this isn't the most realistic, they would need to be very fresh to be silver because they would start to corrode pretty quickly as far as I'm aware. Not sure, I just liked the effect and how much it picked them up with the silver, so I kept it this way. And then also the welds were picked out using this silver color, and also some damaged part like the torn off mudguard. I was kind of running out of time at this point, so what I decided to do was add some really simple rust effects using Vallejo light rust that were also blended using ordinary tap water. And then the last effect I worked on was some weathering, and just to make it simpler for myself, I just added some snow on the model. So I used Vallejo acrylic environment snow, and I applied it everywhere where I would assume the snow would collect. Anyway, this was the model done after 24 hours, so I hope you like the result and you've been convinced that it is actually possible, but if I could, I would probably take some more time with it. However, I'm still really happy with it. I would consider it one of my best models. So please tell me in the comments what you think about it yourself. If you would like to see the models of my other two modeling buddies that came up with this challenge and asked me to do it with them, I will leave their videos to the challenge in my description. You can go check them out and support them. So yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. I'm sorry that last week there was no video, but I was really busy. But I will try to release more videos over the summer. Subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can get notified about my next videos. If you'd like to support me financially, you have my Patreon down in the description or my Amazon wishlist. And one new thing, if you wanna support me only one time, not every month, I also added a Ko-fi account down there. So if you'd like to support me, feel free to. Tell me in the comments what you think about the tank, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.